In any format, you better believe Pro Mazda action is delightful, thrilling, exhilarating, exciting, and so much more. Today, the show rides along and continues like no other as we welcome you to Road Atlanta, located just north of Brazelton in the United States of America. It hosts the third round of the SimLab Pro Cup 2019 with all coverage today on RaceSpotTV. The circuit itself, well, first of all, the circuit itself at Road Atlanta, 4 kilometers, 2.5 miles in nature. There are the points up on screen as well for the championship. All this Puticulus up to 2 rounds for a season that began in Watkins Glen just last month in March has gained a significant advantage. The season, though, will end at Laguna Seca in late September, and that's where the likes of Jean-Michel Noyon, possibly Martin Arnoldas as well. How about Henry Ribeiro in 5th to hopefully rise up in the standings and claim the championship? There's the circuit finally up on screen. Clockwise in nature, of course, of well at Road Atlanta. Elevation change, a whopping 38 meters. You can see they're on track. The downhill braking zone of turn 10. That is the lowest point on the circuit, all the way to the highest point towards the S's at turn 5. Clear skies out there ahead, and hopefully plenty of action here today on RaceSpotTV. Good afternoon, everybody. Jonathan Simon on hand in the commentary booth alongside Randolph Cheneth. Your rallycross crew has come back into action right now. Let's have a look at the grid, though, before we head to Randy. And it will, well, the cars are gridding right now, and John McCutchinson just completed qualifying and is in pole position ahead of Daniel Fletcher in 2nd, Harley Lewis and Aldous Puticulus 3rd and 4th. They head that 2nd row of the grid. The ever quick Andrea Aymon in 5th. Good qualifying performance from Ridley in the 6th position. The rest of the grid includes Henry Ribeiro in 7th, John Morgan 8th. Rounding out the top 10 here, of course, is Fabio Berchtold and Erwin van den Berg. Randy, rest of the top 10 is up on screen, but Road Atlanta, a good challenge for Pro Mazda. It's always good action when we get here. For a rolling start, though, it's going to get very chaotic, not just into the first corners, but think before the start-finish line, heading into the last couple of corners.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be the big thing, and it's always one of the big talking points about this racetrack, isn't it, is coming down through that final sequence of corners and being able to get a run down that front straightaway. Of course, not going to be too difficult in these cars, relatively light, a lot of grip, a lot of downforce, so that last turn is going to be easy flat. But the big talking point, I think, here for this race, Johnny, is the fact that, you know, this is really a track of 2 extremes. You want a ton of aero for turn 1 and the S's and that final corner that I talked about. Even the 2 tight corners at the top of the lap are really nice to have some aero for, but then you have that long back straightaway that's just going to be slipstream city that you're going to want the car trimmed out for, so you don't, you know, you essentially just not a sitting duck compared to all these guys. We're likely going to see some great racing because of the slipstream down that back straightaway.
Yep, 100%. The cars get away, though, for their pace lap right now. And what a first couple of rounds it was as well, Randy, for the SimLab Pro Cup. We are heading to round 3. It's a brilliant season, of course, too. 2 oval races to come in this 14-round championship. One at Indianapolis, the other one at Gateway, of course, too. 2 tracks that are very familiar to Pro Mazda drivers. They head to Gateway possibly every season, but the Indy 500 also put in to replicate the real Pro Mazda series. This SimLab Pro Cup is really out there to give a sort of feeder series to the feeder series that is Pro Mazda in the real world.
Yeah, it really is. I don't know if Pro Mazda, I don't think they typically run the actual big layout, but of course we don't have an Indy Lights car to mimic the Freedom 100, so this is as close as we're ever going to get when it comes to Pro Mazda. They have run some other ovals in the past. I believe they've run at tracks like Iowa, I think Richmond as well in real life. Gateway is going to be, I think, a fun track. It's a very tight circuit, and I think it's going to suit these Pro Mazda cars well. The layout we have on iRacing, we don't have the updated version with the new asphalt, but we still have a very fun layout, I think, for these guys. It is a very, very tight racetrack that should provide some great racing.
Certainly should. Road Atlanta itself, though, you can see the drivers now heading towards the back straight here at what is a magnificent circuit. First time I ever raced around here was an endurance event. And when I say raced, I mean commentate. I pretended to race, so it doesn't really count. This is the long back straight heading all the way to the downhill braking zone at turn 10. Randy, the lowest point in the circuit, of course, here today for today's race. Best overtaking spot, you could say, turn 10 for sure. 100%.
You have like what feels like a million-mile back straightaway into a super hard braking zone, which is actually leads into a very, very fun chicane. You have that downhill braking, like you said. You don't spend a lot of time at the lowest part of the track. You can see as they work through on the pace lap, you sort of dip into it, hit the chicane, and then you're immediately going right back uphill, pretty much going uphill through the chicane, and you start picking the elevation back up. But it's time, I think, for us to go running.
Certainly is. Pace car will pull in. John McCutcheon floors it. We go green for 22 laps of action here for round 3. Look at that. Very, very stagnant start. Everybody's just forming up here. The top 4 have stretched themselves out away from Andrea Aymon, who screams into the first few corners as well. One car off there wide as well. You can see off camera, of course, too. And rejoining very... well, not good enough. That's Scott Kirshner as well, who's down the order. So Martin Arnolda's not in this event here, Randy, and he is already out of the event.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for Martin. Came in with a good sort of situation in the points to have this sort of pick up. And your race leader, John McCutcheon, is going to head into these tight double 90-degree corners for the first time. And we're about to see this long back straightaway have its effect. And we're going to watch, I think, Daniel Fletcher probably just reel in that leading car despite the gap that John has been able to open up. But that said, it's actually a pretty wide gap. He may not get all that close.
Yeah, very close as well. Urban Vandenberg behind, of course. He's currently in 8th position, is in a nice little scrap here, just tucking into the slipstream. He'll appear on camera right now. Look at that mad scramble of cars heading into the braking zone, of course, too. And racing nice and cleanly. There's Vandenberg in the orange and black Pro Mazda. Brilliant move there. And he's now up into the 7th position. He started 10th, so up 3 positions. But at the end of the first lap, it's the number 69 of John McCutcheon in first. Fletcher second. Harley Lewis third. No change to your top 6 in the field.
And Henry Bear goes way wide at the exit of turn 1. A little bit of front wing damage on that Espo Designs number 20. I think we had another car off as well at the top of the hill. Indeed we did. Andre Iman from the top 5, 5th place running at the time. Mistake at the top of the hill going in towards turn 3 is going to drop him well down the order.
So replay on screen for Andre Iman, who almost peeled off from the top 4 initially to begin this race, and here he is right now heading through turns.
Oh, there was another
2 and
car,
3.
Harley Lewis.
So Harley Lewis was in 3rd, so Harley Lewis fell in some trouble. Harley Lewis is down in 18th now, so troubles for Harley Lewis as well, as we saw in the replay. We're going to track on with this, Randy, but certainly something going on. This is the battle for 1st and 2nd up ahead. It got very close between McCutcheon and Fletcher. And let's have a look at what happened to Lewis.
He just missed turn 1. He just took it, I think, a little too fast, completely missed it. It's one of the unfortunate things about this layout, Johnny, is that you go wide at turn 1 and you have no real way to ever bring that car back onto the racetrack, because you're gonna, if you go wide, you need to try to slow it down while bringing it to the right to get it back on the asphalt, and you just have no grip out there, and that's just such a common mistake that you see here at Road Atlanta.
There is Fletcher on screen, who almost lost it going over the curb, of course, too, in that number 11. Here they head through the left-hander at turn 5. This will end so many races if you get it wrong, and we've seen it happen in the past, of course, too. Heading into the braking zone now to 6 and 7. It is where Fletcher needs the best run possibly onto this next straight. Gets a good run here coming out of turn 7. Hit the apex nice and sweetly. There could be a lead change on this main straight.
Very well could be, as the 11 car really working that slipstream as close as he can get is Daniel Fletcher. Will he slide it up the inside, though? I think he may have lifted out of that a little bit, Johnny, because about 2/3 down the straightaway, he kind of just stagnated in the draft, and I think he's just sort of playing the patient game and just sitting in that 2nd spot at the moment, maybe not feeling the move was on there and didn't want to push the issue.
Yeah, you can't even see 3rd place, the Illuminati car of Aldis Particulus, who's in number 666. He's not even close behind these two. So there he is, Porticulus on screen. And the Latvian, well, yeah, he's 4 seconds behind this bunch. So Porticulus is going to be able to push. He started in 4th. He's been one of the only consistent drivers out of the top 6, of course, too. Because we know that to start this race, Lewis had some trouble. Andrea Imon too. So did, where's the driver of Craig Goodley? Yep, all the way down in 10th. So that shuffled up the field after the first lap. Big movers and shakers. Jean-Michel Nayon, 14th to 7th. Mark Veron, 17th to 9th, of course, too. Visit RaceSpot.tv/timing for more information. There are your movers and shakers on the left-hand side of the screen as well. Join us on social media, of course, as well. Hashtag SimLab, the sponsor of the SimLab Pro Cup for 2019. Pro Mazda action. I'm seeing some very familiar names here, Randy, but some very new names, of course, at the same time, which is always nice to see for a community that's been around pretty much since the inauguration of iRacing.
Well, I mean, and it's even great to see that this car is still popular, Johnny, because let's be real, the whole feeder series open wheeler population on iRacing has sort of exploded in terms of the number of the cars. We've sort of been really about, what has it been, 2 years? We've gone from just a Pro Mazda to adding the Formula Renault 2.0, the Formula Renault 3.5, as well as that Dallara F3 car. So we now have kind of 4 cars that, although different in pace, they all kind of encompass a similar range. I would definitely say it sort of goes Formula Renault and Pro Mazda, and then likely into the F3 car, and then up towards the F3.5 is what I would say the pace goes. But that has, I think, sort of divided the entire population a little bit, and it's good to see that this Pro Mazda car, the original one that we had on the sim, actually I think the original open wheeler with, you know, really high downforce we had on the sim. I think this predates both the Williams and the Dallara Indy car. The old Dallara Indy car. It's good to see this car still getting some love nearly 10 years on, as long as it's been in the sim.
Can I interrupt for 2 seconds? I think our lead battle's changed.
Oh, they're in pit road.
Yep, so there's been an incident. There's been something wrong for both your drivers in the top 2 positions. And to me, this deserves a replay. There's one of them in the barriers. That's John McCutcheon. Here they are at turn 1. Is this what happened here?
Yeah.
Yo, McCutcheon lost it. And, oh, goodness gracious. Fletcher's joined him into the barriers there, of course. Well, just a comical incident. That means Aldous Putekilis right behind there on screen in shot is now claimed the lead.
You can get another angle of this. I want to watch it on board with John McCutcheon so you can see exactly what he saw. Excuse me, with Daniel Fletcher, to see exactly what he saw. You're going to see that black and gold Lotus themed car just basically put the left tires on the grass on entry. It's sort of a weird mistake to make, and really not much Daniel Fletcher can do, Johnny, because that corner is so high speed and so high commitment that you can't, you know, like jab on the brakes and try to make something happen. You know, you're just carrying so much speed through there that, you know, there's not much if you're Daniel Fletcher you can ever do to avoid. So a disastrous situation there on your points leader. 666 car of Oldest really gets a gimme, and he just gets given the race lead here when he looked pretty much locked into 3rd.
That's what I like to call no man's land for Daniel Fletcher, as we see a pass on screen as well. Is that Owen Vandenberg being passed by Pete Tinkler? Yes, it is for P2. But how about this? Illuminati working once again. Aldous Putekilis takes the lead in the 666 car. I might change every number I've ever worn in sports to 666, just out of hope. Like, is it luck or is it conspiracy now, Randy? You know, I don't know whether to look into this too much. But 1/3 into the race, and as you said, our points leader somehow finds himself back into the lead yet again. So Aldous Putekilis, what an event it's been so far for him. But that battle for the final podium positions continues. From Pete Tinkler to Erwin Vandenberg to John Morgan, all the way down to Jean-Michel Nayon and Fabio Berchtold, all separated by 2 seconds. That is going to be a mad scramble for the next few laps.
It was actually going to be interesting to watch as the 11 car of Daniel Fletcher has picked up some repairs and is back out there on the racetrack at the head of this field. And this might actually have effect, Johnny. We talked about the effect the slipstream can have, and we know that Fletcher with a quick race car, if he can stay out in front of Pete Tinkler, that's going to be helping Pete quite a bit maintain this 2nd position over the rest of the field, going to really eliminate that slipstream effect for the 53 and the 177 and everyone else behind.
Yeah, one fast repair available to the drivers, of course, too. If you're wondering how world-class Daniel Fletcher's crew is, they have that to their advantage, of course. At the same time, there we see the 44 on screen of Pete Tinkler, who began this race outside the top 10 in 11th, finds himself in the podium. The driver behind of Erwin Vandenberg started from 10th, rounded out the top 10 in qualifying, and now finds himself on the final step of the podium. All over the rear end is Erwin Vandenberg, but this is not an overtaking spot here in the first sector. Now through the S's, through the dirty left-hander of turn 5. Erwin Vandenberg here looks hungry.
He definitely does, and I definitely think your description of turn 5 of dirty is more than accurate for these guys. Very difficult corner and really going to be messing with the aero platforms for all of these guys heading through there as they head back onto the back straightaway. And the 53 of Erwin Vandenberg all over the back of the 44 of Pete Tinkler, and he wants to make something of this heading down into the chicane at the end of the back straightaway.
John Morgan behind. I don't think he's close enough. Oh, there he is on screen. No, he's not even close. So it's going to be a battle of two heading into the braking zone, but plenty of straight line speed for Pete Tinkler. These Pro Mazda cars travel up to about 250 kilometers an hour before they head into the braking zone 2. Here they rise through the final sector, the brilliant final sector of Road Atlanta, through the tight right-hander. Nobody spin at turn 1, please, this time round, because we will have a pile-up for sure. And they get it all correct. So good stuff from the crew, but Vandenberg seems to nail this S's section, trying to go for the switchback there. That was always going to end in turmoil, and gladly he forms up.
That is one of those sort of situations and one of those places on the racetrack, Johnny, that I know a lot of drivers, they like to look at that as sort of a good passing opportunity. And I think in cars like this, turn 3, the top of the hill, you can't quite do it. The cars are just too fast. Maybe if you're in a slower touring style kind of car, maybe the old school FR500 Mustang, but the 53 of Vandenberg, he wants to make something of this around the outside, coming onto the back straightaway, and he might have that move just about done.
What a brilliant move from Erwin Vandenberg, and he finds himself in second. Now here's the issue. This is the part of the racetrack where he struggles, and already Pete Tinkler should reclaim the second position. There are the cars just cycling away like a peloton, just trying to claim the slipstream. John Morgan up the inside of Erwin Vandenberg. Vandenberg up the inside of Tinkler. Around the outside goes Jean-Michel Nayon with a poised move from John Morgan. Positions are changing and shuffling around. Who's going to end out where by the end here of lap 9 heading into lap 10?
Well, it's pretty hard to tell. It's going to be Tinkler, Vandenberg, Morgan, Noyon in that order, but they're basically 2 by 2 through turn 1 as they just about get it single filed out as they head now up the hill and get ready to calm down as they head through the S's. But man, this has just been an absolute boxing match here from about 3rd place on to about, I'd say, what is it, 8th on the racetrack, 7th. I think looking at my timing screen, so all these drivers just under a blanket trying to make something of this, and the fighting's been absolutely fantastic. And especially, Johnny, we talked about the aero effect and how you might set up the cars. It's fun watching down the back straightaway and over the course of the lap even, seeing which cars are running higher aero and which cars have the cars trimmed out, because it's really making these battles ebb and flow as they work around the racetrack.
Yeah, all these drivers squabbling, and it's for very important positions and important points, of course, too. 30 points for your race winner, but you still get 25 and 22 for 2nd and 3rd, so plenty of valuable opportunities for the championship right now. Heading into this braking zone, I can't believe Tinkler is still ahead, as the drivers this time, no real position changes. I feel like that's Aymon going up the inside there of Jean-Michel Nayon, excuse me, of John Morgan. Brilliant pass there from Andrea Aymon. And Andrea, who started the race in 5th, now gladly and very satisfyingly, Randy, heads back into 5th.
Yeah, I think he's going to be happy with that following that mistake we saw from him a little bit earlier on in this one. But talking about Pete Tinkler, he's done well here, Johnny. He's opened up about a 1.1 second lead over Erwin Vandenberg, and you see that 53 car, I think, maybe bring that gap down a little bit, but that gap's opened up, and I think he's right on the cusp of being able to break that slipstream away from the 53, as behind, Noyon has his hands full with Aymon.
Yeah, Andre Aymon looking for the inside line. That outside line there at turn 6 works wonders for some drivers. I'm on here though through the exit, has all the camber. He gets a brilliant run here onto the back straight. Very, very long back straight is it here at Road Atlanta, heading to that turn 10 braking zone. I'm on the slipstream effect should help him, but in these cars, it's not that much from that far back in terms of distance. Brilliant move from Imon. Brilliant in the braking zone, of course, too. So here is Erwin Vandenberg's issue, Randy, is that he is quickest through the first sector and then through the S's heading into turn 5, but just can't make up any time on a straight.
Yeah, and I think that issue might even be getting compounded because I do see a little bit of damage on the front right part of that wing. So that's going to be, I think, both affecting his top speed and the advantage he has in the aero. And I'd say, Johnny, that's pretty much evidence in and of itself that he's the one running a lot more aero compared to everyone else, because the aero-loaded cars will be quicker through that first sector in the S's, but slower everywhere else. That's exactly what we're seeing from Erwin Vandenberg. But that said, maybe a mistake from the 44. Erwin has reeled in Pete Tinkler that trip through that first and second sector.
I certainly feel Pete's. Oh, what a move from Vandenberg. Did he make that move up? Yes, he did. But he's not going to have the exit. 3 wide on the exit here as Imon has a thrilling run out of turn 7 and tries to squeeze in and reel in Erwin Vandenberg. Imon wants all the slipstream in the world. Tinkler recognizes that and heads to the inside and helps Vandenberg out in the braking zone, of course, too. I'm not sure if he wants to help out anybody here in this situation, but Imon around the outside, 2 positions.
Oh, and Vandenberg's around.
Oh, Erwin Vandenberg is around there as well, and his rear wing is shot. His race has taken a turn for the worse. He's going to head into the pit lane with another driver up ahead as well. That looks like Fabio Berchtold. Did they collide, perhaps?
We'll get a look in a second, but just watching Andre Imon finish that move and get ahead of Pete Tinkler will now pick up Erwin Vandenberg and take a peek at what happened to him going through the chicane that caused that spin, riding on board with him down the back straightaway. What exactly happens here for Erwin?
So Vandenberg, oh, he got hit, I think, definitely by Jean-Michel Nayon, and the second touch was from Fabio Berchtold. You saw there as Fabio Berchtold headed through. Here's another look from third-party cams. Third-person cams, a better word. Yeah, Jean-Michel Nayon took him out. And then the huge hit, wow, from Fabio Berchtold. So they both have a fast repair available, but it's going to cost them so much time here in this event. They're already about there, back on the racetrack here on lap 13 of 22, but there's nowhere to go, was it? And the worst part about this is Andre Imon has taken the position that Erwin Vandenberg has been fighting for all race.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be really, I think, rough for Erwin Vandenberg, but of course, not going to hurt nearly as much as I think him falling so far down the order. But Pete Tinkler, now we've seen that 44 car. I'm not actually sure what happened that even sparked all that, Johnny, because we saw the 44 car slowed down towards the top of the track and then really slow kind of going into that double right-hander. I don't know what exactly happened to Pete, whether he had a slowdown or what the deal was, but it was sort of a weird situation that caused that dark green car that really stacked up the entire field like that sort of generated that incident.
Yeah, 100%. So, guess it was just a lot of drivers scrambling for positions, but while that's all taking place, all this particulars, let's not forget about Mr. Illuminati, who is leading this race by 12 seconds and is untouched right now. 12.8 seconds last time at the line. The relative gap says 11.2, so not sure if something's gone wrong for Particulars this lap round or whether or not Andre Imon is insanely quick, but something's happened there. 18.2 last lap. Yeah.
You'd think he's feeling the pressure with this 11.5 second lead.
Yo, well, ironically, Particulars last lap, he's crossed the line now, 19.2, so definitely something has gone wrong for all this Particulars this lap.
Yeah, probably just a bit of oversteer, something along those lines that cost him about a second. I think I see a bit of lap traffic in the background as well, so maybe a little bit of lap traffic could have affected him there also. But overall, I mean, the car still looks clean, so I don't think he's got any damage or anything to really worry about here as we're inside the final 10 laps here at Road Atlanta, and Pete Tinkler still trying to keep that charging John Morgan behind, as well as John Michael Leon, who those two, by the way, I think have swapped positions, I think 6 or 7 times, that 111 and the 177.
Yeah, they have. Jean-Michel Neon, a veteran of Pro Mazda, and John Morgan right now trying to get past Pete Tinkler, who's had not the best of races. He's climbed up the order, doesn't really belong in the top 3, but he's doing a splendid job of holding all these drivers behind. He's just going to do it for 7 more laps. But John Morgan right now is hunting him down here on the straight. All over the rear end is John Morgan. This should be just a simple move heading into the braking zone. We know that Tinkler defends really well though, but he was beaten once around the outside in the braking zone. It could happen twice. He's learned his lesson.
He's got it held off. That's a great move. So a great thing about that chicane is that you can make moves both aggressively and defensively on either side, and Jean-Michel Noyon is going to take advantage of John Morgan's inability to pass that 44 car. He takes his 4th spot away.
How about Mr. Noyon there through the last corner? He's now into the top 4. Jean-Michel Noyon into the S's. Signed, sealed, delivered, post it, stamp it, send it through, everything. He's got that move sealed. And Jean-Michel Neon, I mean, that's just remarkable right now as they head into turn 5. Don't get this wrong, fellas. Plenty of racing still to go. But, I mean, he's just so poised, isn't he, in that car? That was just impeccable, that move.
Yeah, absolutely great move there from the 111 car. Just really took advantage of the fact that Morgan was going to have a bad run coming off the chicane. And going up that hill, just slots it down the inside. It's a difficult place to make a move if you're in a big, heavy, fendered car, but in these single seaters with all this aero, you can really make that move stick to the last corner. Now Noyon is going to have his try at the 44 of Pete Tinkler. I don't think he's going to be close enough this time, but might think about at least showing the nose. No, nothing even going here down in towards the chicane. But I think next trip through, if the 111 car can hook up that run onto the back straightaway, we're going to see him try to make something of it down in towards the chicane.
Yeah, but I'm not trying to be an incendiary, but Aldous Particular's lead now down to 9.8 seconds. So we'll keep an eye on that, whether or not he's losing pace. Imon's just really quick, but Particulars is just trying to, you can see a lap car right behind him as well. Of course, it's Daniel Fletcher, who was involved in incidents early on in this event. But look at the lap advantages there, Randy. 1.4, 0.6 of a second, 0.9. So I'm on average a second per lap. Won't be enough come the end of this race, but now the gap down to 9.5, so I'm getting very nervous here for all this particulars.
Yeah, if he has some sort of issue going on, it's not going to be great. I almost wondered if I almost wondered if maybe he had some lap traffic that was actually maintaining good speed that he was slipstreaming off of, but it's just raw pace for Andre right now, or I think it's rather a lack of pace from from Aldous Michaelis, because really Andre hasn't started opening up a huge gap to the 44 of Pete Tinkler. I mean, the gap's 3 seconds, but it's not like he's opening that up by a second a lap or something crazy. So I think what's likely happening is Aldous is probably just in cruise control right now, or has some sort of damage that we can't see that's affecting the pace of that car and taking about a second a lap off the top of it.
Yeah, that could be the case. These three head through the final corner in the battle for the final podium position. And Pete Tinkler, he's just driven phenomenally, hasn't he? Will anybody be able to maybe force him to crack under pressure here as they head through the first sector yet again? This is a mad train right now. Jean-Michel Noyon nailing his lines, pinpoint apexes, now through the S's. Now through turn 5, coming up the left-hander uphill. Doesn't want to run wide here. We've seen a few cars do that. Noyon, 4 wheels over the curbs, of course, as well. And behind him, John Morgan, well, he's got Starbucks coffee on that nose, but definitely don't think he needs the caffeine at this stage of the race.
Yeah, I think you're right about that one, and it's this car right now that seems hot right now, and definitely not your coffee is Noyon. I think it's close enough. This is where we're going to, I think, likely to see a move for this 111 car tucked right underneath in the slipstream. Maybe a bit of aero advantage for Tinkler, because Noyon not really closing on the draft. He pulls out as they get deep towards the braking zone here. Downhill braking on the brakes. Can Noyon pick the spot up around the outside?
Oh, this would be a great move if he can get it done. Just too tight through the right-hander. And now he's under pressure from John Morgan behind into the 4th position. I think John Morgan's going to nose ahead here. They're going to be alongside each other heading across the start-finish line for lap 19 of the event. Hey, how about Craig Ridley behind, of course, too? He's out of the scrap, though. Forms in behind. Jean-Michel Neon, 1 position lost after attempting to have 1 position gain.
And that's the exact way he picked that position up, remember. John Morgan tried to make the move on Pete Tinkler down in towards the chicane. Pete was able to defend, and because of the slow run off the corner, Morgan was not able to hold off the charging 111 machine through that final corner. Exact same situation, flip-flop this time, and Morgan picks that 4th spot back up.
And let's put out the fire, of course, as well. 8.4 seconds, the gap between Particulus and Imon. So unless those two have any troubles, your top 2 positions are basically done and dusted. They're sealed. Particulus should take victory ahead of Imon, but who will sort out this final podium position? If Pete Tinkler can get it done, Randy, this will be a battle of the ages.
Yeah, it'll be one of the great defensive drives I think I've ever seen. He's done so well out here. You know, I do think he's probably got that car completely trimmed out as you see Morgan and Noyon make contact through the chicane. Craig Ridley is off in the background, and Noyon, secondary incident as well, trying to move across the racetrack. Replay up on screen.
Oh, and his suspension's done, I think. Here's the replay up on screen. So they were all the way back now at the exit of turn 7. Here we are. So Noyon will feed into the slipstream, of course, too. We should see some drivers behind, of course. As Randy mentioned, Craig Ridley went off into the braking zone. I think it what looked like, Randy, a separate incident, I'm pretty sure.
Possibly avoiding.
Yeah, well, that too. Here they are at the inside, though. Oh, he goes deep under braking, doesn't he? That's too hard to tell from that view.
Yeah, that one's hard to tell. And then the secondary incident, we'll rewind the cameras back again, try to get another view of it. And I think right here, this might be the one that tells the tale down the hill. As let's see, I don't think he goes deep here. He has the move sort of done, and well, he just I think he just cuts across the nose there of John Morgan. Not exactly sure what happened to Craig Ridley, though, because that looked a little bit too early to be avoiding action, so maybe a secondary incident behind. But I really think the 111 car cut across John Morgan there through the second part of the chicane.
Yeah, not good for Jean-Michel Neon. And then when he rejoined, of course, as well, he wasn't intentionally trying to drive into the driver coming back in the racetrack. Can't remember who it was. I think Jean-Michel Neon was just unaware that he had so much suspension damage. The car was so difficult to control. On the penultimate lap, though, Aldous Particulus is currently driving away splendidly. We're looking at Pete Tinkler on screen. There's Particulus now on screen. Right behind him is Daniel Fletcher, and not unlapping himself. Oh, geez. Is Fletcher spun around? He has. So Fletcher, oh, goodness gracious.
Has he kept that off the wall?
Yeah. That's an amazing save. That's not, well, I'm confused now because that's not what we're really focusing on, but we'll get a replay of this. Fletcher, Randy, I just, wow.
He kept that off the wall.
Well, that might be save of the race. Ironically for Daniel Fletcher, he was right behind Particulus in first position, but not battling for the lead. After pretty much the early stage of this race, starting in second. And not able to lead this race, of course, too, after a crash with John McCutchinson, who went off at turn 1. For Particulus, though, he will begin the final lap. It's been a great race from him so far. And what can we say, Randy? He's going to extend his championship lead again. Just a brilliant drive from Aldous.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a brilliant drive, and it's looking like a championship contending drive for Aldous. And, you know, what else could you ever really ask for from him? It's one of those things. It's not just speed oftentimes that puts you in championship dominating positions. Oftentimes it requires a lot of luck, and Aldous Particulus, he definitely got it here today. It was Fletcher getting into that incident early on with John McCutchinson in the 69 car. Got a little bit of luck to pick up that race lead, and he's been absolutely unchallenged ever since. Maybe not had the pace. You know, we've been talking about him dropping a little bit of time to Andre Iman, but that could just be gap management as well, saying, I got more than enough time. Don't need to push uber crazy here. I have a 10-second plus lead, but he's going to head in the chicane for the final time, taking a very fortunate race victory here today.
Ollie Rootgen as well is in the 6th position and started 18th. What a race it's been from Ollie. You'll claim some very important points here. But here is Aldous Putiklis in the 666 car. What a drive it's been from him. He extends his championship lead, and he wins round 3 of the SimLab Pro Cup here from Road Atlanta.
Yeah, absolutely phenomenal drive from him.
Yeah, Andre Imon comes home in the 2nd position right behind. There he is on the left-hand side of the screen, finally popping up. Pete Tinkler, though, claims a brilliant podium finish, one to be remembered. One of the defensive drives of the ages as John Morgan and Henry Robert, the two who live behind. Here's a battle coming in the closing stages between Mark Barron and Bob Kern. Through the final corner, I think this will be all done right now as Bob Kern has left it a little bit too late here for the run heading into turn 1. They come in 7th and 8th respectively. There they are, finally popping up on screen as well. But an event, Randy, to be remembered. Andrea Imon, a brilliant 2nd position. But Pete Tinkler, man, what a drive.
Yeah, great defensive drive from Pete Tinkler. That was really the battle to watch all race long after McCutcheon and Fletcher had their incident. But, you know, absolutely fantastic show for that those final spots on the podium. I mean, we saw what? I think 3, 4, 5. I think it's better part of 7 cars fighting for that 3rd spot. And Tinkler held all of them off.
What a drive it was from Pete Tinkler. Let's have a look at your final race results. Round 3 of the SimLab Pro Cup here from Road Atlanta is all over, and the win goes to Aldous Putiklis, who extends his championship lead. It was a brilliant drive. A race of attrition, really, for Aldous Putiklis, who started in the 2nd row, claimed some positions based on other drivers' demise. Andrea Imon earned that 2nd position, started 5th, made an early mistake, had all the pace to climb back up through the order. That is a very underrated podium position for Andrea Imon. Pete Tinkler, we've given him praises for his podium there in 3rd position. John Morgan and Henry Robert round out the top 5. They just fell short there towards the end of the race. Ollie Rutgen started from 18th, headed up into the 6th position. Now, how about this? Mark Barron and Bob Kern started 17th and 16th, respectively. They filed in behind. So 3 drivers there starting towards the back end of the grid, claiming some very important points in the top 10. Burscholder and finally Erwin Vandenberg round out the top 10. We know what happened to Vandenberg, who was looking good for 3rd position the entirety of the event. Just didn't go right for him at the correct time. Rest of the results on screen. Jean-Michel Leon, the last car on the lead lap with terminal damage. He got a fast repair there in the end, rejoined the racetrack, but ended up coming home in 11th. He'll be disappointed with that after starting from 14th and looking good for a possible podium, of course, as well. Fletcher and McCutcheon, the top 2, battling for the lead, colliding. Ended up coming home in 12th and 13th. A lap down, of course, there. Alan Jolly, Craig Ridley, the likes of Harley Lewis as well. Not the best of events for them, of course. Scott Kirshner ended his event early, 11 laps from the end, and Martin Arnoldas, a did not start, listed there as plus 23 laps, but never actually took to the start of the race. Any final comments here, Randy, from this event? Any lessons learned for some of these drivers who, I think I said there in that race results, there must have been about 6 drivers or 5 or 6 drivers where I said they could have been on the podium but weren't.
I think the big takeaway is going to be for McCutcheon. I mean, he's the one who potentially had at least a second with looking at the pace of him and Fletcher. I think they had first and second locked up, and just trying to run away from a driver on a track that you're never really going to be able to run away on. So I'll make that mistake at turn 1 and then both of their rounds. That's the big takeaway. Pete Tinkler, you know, I don't think he has much to take away from this one or much to learn after this. He looks like he's pretty much the expert at being able to hold people off on the braking zone down in towards the chicane there. But, you know, one more of these road courses, we look at a very stiff United States or American flag rather. But, you know, one more of these road courses before we head to the big oval at Indianapolis. That I don't think I've ever seen that pop across our scenic cam before. That was quite humorous.
Yeah. I've never seen that before.
It looked like the flag on the moon.
I did, actually, yeah, because that must have been... Well, I'm not going to bring up controversy.
Road Atlanta on the moon confirmed.
Yeah. There is a brilliant shot of the virtual Road Atlanta here, developed by our brilliant crew at iRacing, of course, as well. Let's finally wrap up here for round 3 of the SimLab Pro Cup. The next race will be on the 11th of May, of course. That will be in 3 weeks' time for 22 laps around Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. That will host round 4 of the SimLab Pro Cup for 2019. There are the people behind it on screen. Myself, Jonathan Simon, thank you from me. Randy Cheneth alongside me in the commentary booth and working the cameras. Thanks as well to Istvan Bella for all his work in terms of setting up track cams and our brilliant angles and shots we get throughout the event. That next race at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park will be on RaceSpotTV, of course, as usual. Thanks to all you viewers, of course, for joining us here for today's event, because this has been a RaceSpotTV presentation. As we say so long from Road Atlanta, we'll see you at Mosport in a few weeks' time.